the Dodgers NLDS loss to the Diamondbacks. And we have a special guest today. We are joined by an Emmy Award-winning MLB analyst. She's currently the co-host of High Heat on MLB Network with Chris Russo. The great Alana Rizzo joins us today. Thanks for joining us today, Alana. We lost her.
It's frozen. Should we bring her?
Some technical difficulties trying to iron these out. Just give us 1 second here. Yeah, guys, we're going to break this down. Alana Rizzo is joining us. We're going to talk about the Dodgers losing to the Diamondbacks and what it means. But yeah, how you guys feeling today? Drop those comments down below. We hear some comments from you guys, so definitely drop those down below in the comment section because we have still so much to get into, so much to talk about in this one. Because look, bottom line, this was unacceptable. I slept on it. I woke up 3 times in the middle of the night. I was tossing and turning. I could not believe what we saw yesterday. And I think we need to talk more about the decision to leave Lance Lynn out there to serve up 4 home runs, the decision to have Austin Barnes at the plate with your season on the line there in the 7th inning after the Dodgers offense had put together a rally, having 4 straight singles. I don't think that was a good decision. I think we're at the point where it's time for a major shakeup. It's time for possibly some wholesale changes. It's time for some philosophical changes for the way this organization goes about things. So we're going to talk about all that. We're going to see if we can get Alana Rizzo back, but drop those comments down below. We appreciate you guys. We got Nando390 says, I'm still mad. Yeah, we're all still mad. Teresa says, hi, D-Mac. We've got Adrian says, I'm ready for the team to blow it up, D-Mac. Yeah, it sounds like a lot of you guys are still very heated about what happened last night in Arizona. But looks like we got Alana back. There she is. There she is, the Emmy Award winner. She, of course, was the Dodgers sideline reporter. She was the reporter for so many years. Alana, thanks for joining us. Thank you. Very brave. Join this Dodgers live stream because I'm telling you, last night, the sky was falling in Dodgerland. A lot of very upset, disappointed, frustrated Dodgers fans after getting swept by that Arizona Diamondbacks team. And really the first question I have for you, Alana, is you get swept by this Diamondbacks team. And I think there's a couple ways you can look at it. Yeah, baseball is a crapshoot. The Dodgers dealt with so many injuries, but still, it's an 84-win team that the Dodgers were more talented than. But how do you make sense of this most recent postseason collapse by the Dodgers, Alana?
Hi, guys. It's good to be with you. Unfortunately, not under these circumstances, but the bottom line is we didn't hit. You have Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman, 2 MVP caliber players, obviously, that went, they had 1 hit combined. But you also have to look at the fact that there was just no starting pitching. I mean, you have a starting staff that gave you 4 2/3 innings with a 25.07 earned run average in the National League Division Series. Compare that to the fact that the relieving corps for the Los Angeles Dodgers ended up having to throw 22 1/3 innings. They had a 2.53 earned run average in the 3 games. So you can't fault the bullpen on this. You can't fault the relievers. You have to look at the fact that there's just no starting pitching. So you absolutely get decimated by injury, of course, but a lot of teams, all 30 teams are dealing with injuries at this point of the year. So you're dealing with a lot of guys that are dealing with Tommy John surgery. Obviously, Walker Buehler couldn't come back in 2023 like we had hoped. You have, Tony Gonsolin on the IL with issues. You have Dustin May on the IL with issues. And then you're forced to bring up guys that aren't ready to pitch at the big league level quite yet. I think Bobby Miller is going to be a fantastic starting pitcher in the future. I look at him and I see Walker Buehler. But I don't know that he was necessarily ready to pitch in game 2 of the NLDS. I think you're forcing guys to have to come up early out of necessity, out of injury. I get it. But at the trade deadline, the Dodgers really needed another frontline starter, perhaps 2 frontline starters. To give Andrew Friedman credit, obviously they went after Eduardo Rodriguez. He decided to say, you know what, I'm going to stay in Detroit. He has that right. It was in his contract. He had a no trade clause. Los Angeles is one of the places that he said he didn't want to be traded to, and good for him. If that's the way you want to be, I never fault the player for exercising his protections. But I said this the entire season. The Dodgers did not have enough starting pitching, coupled with the fact that they didn't hit at all. That's not a winning formula. So, yes, the Diamondbacks won 84 games. The Dodgers win over 100. But baseball is all about playing the best brand of baseball at the right time. The Diamondbacks did that. Unfortunately, the Dodgers did not.
Absolutely. And you look at the starting pitching, as you mentioned, 4 2/3 innings. That's not going to get it done. They got 13, just 14 outs. I mean, you look at Lance Lynn. I kind of want to start right there as dissecting this because, yes, there's no doubt about it. They didn't have the reg with starting pitching to make a deep post run. And I think if you lose the Diamondbacks in 4 or 5 games and you're competitive, you can chalk it up to that, right? The injuries, having a Julio Urias, you could use those as a potential explanation. But to go out the way they did, to get swept in the fashion that they did, I feel like it was unacceptable. But talking about Lance Lynn, though. So Lance Lynn goes out there last night, looked pretty good for the first 2 innings, got out of a jam, but then we started to serve up those home runs. I think after the second home run, you had Caleb Ferguson already warmed up. To get down there to want to go through some of those righties. Do you agree with his decision to leave him out there as long as he did to make MLB history the wrong way? He had the do-over home run by Moreno there. I mean, the first time ever in big league history, he had 4 home runs served up in 1 inning. So what are your thoughts on the decision to leave him out there to continue to serve those dingers?
I mean, I think it goes back to the fact that the bullpen had already been eating up so many innings. You're hoping that you can force the series to go on, right? You're hoping that you can have a guy have to kind of take one for the team and eat up some innings because your bullpen's already been decimated in the first 2 games. So let's say the Dodgers were able to salvage game 3. You're still trying to have enough bullpen arms and enough relief to be able to get through a game 4, hopefully, to get to a game 5, hopefully. So you can't just manage for the situation in the moment. You're trying to also manage for the remainder of the series, provided that you can get there. So again, I have said this all season long. I mean, nobody loves the Dodgers more than I do, but they did not have enough pitching to get to where they needed to get. And you also have to remember, again, with coupled with not hitting, what are the 2 key pieces, in my opinion, that the Dodgers were missing in the lineup? Our lineup is very top heavy. The back end of the lineup isn't that type of lineup that really strikes fear in the opposition. You're missing Justin Turner and you're missing Corey Seager. And I've said that all season long. Without JT services, just the calming presence in that lineup, he lengthens your lineup, not to mention the professional at bat that he gives you time in and time out. And you have the veteran presence and the leadership in the clubhouse that can't be quantified. Look at what Corey Seager is doing right now for the Texas Rangers. Had it not been for Yandy Diaz, not playing on the last day of the season, Corey Seager would be your batting champion. He could very well end up being a CS MVP or a World Series MVP if they actually get to that point. So listen, this was just not the Dodgers' year. I actually applaud. I see a lot of the comments about fire Dave Roberts. No, this, in my opinion, this is one of the better years of Dave Roberts managing, considering all that he had to deal with as far as the decimation of the Dodgers starting rotation. This is one of the better jobs I think he's done managing. I think what failed us was that we didn't necessarily have the proper pieces when everybody went down. You know, we needed a couple of big frontline starters to come. And again, to be fair, it wasn't like there were a billion great arms and great choices out there to be picked up at the trade deadline. So, you know, this is the good thing is, I guess, you got some of your young arms and some of your young players, some big league experience for the future. But to be swept by any team, especially a team in your own division that you've dominated over the course of recent history, is a very embarrassing way to go out.
Absolutely. I love that you bring that up. The fact that this team, yes, they had so many rookies, right? You had 9 rookie debuts. You got them valuable. Unfortunately, Bobby Miller, he wasn't ready for it there in game 2. And at the end of the day, there wasn't that many names available. I mean, they tried to get a Max Scherzer. Verlander. Both those guys had no trade clauses, and they didn't want to be Dodgers at the end of the day. Corbin Burns wasn't available. Dylan C still had a couple years of team control, and the price was very high, and there was guarantees they were going to trade him. So, yeah, sometimes those pitchers aren't out there, and you combine that with injuries, what happened to Julio Urias, it definitely was very tough. Their backs were against the wall. But I think when you look at this offense, Alana, what makes me is you mentioned Corey Seager and Justin Turner. A lot of those guys that were core members of this team that had deep runs, that won a World Series. You talk more guys that 100 RBIs. They combined this series to go just four hits among. They go 5 for 42 this series, and Will Smith had 5 hits all by himself. Those guys didn't show up. You talk about runs, like everyone always says, okay, runners in scoring position, this and that. Yeah, I understand that, but it wasn't necessarily just that. It was that they didn't create those opportunities. They went 4 for 17 of the runners in scoring position, only created 17 opportunities in 3 games. That's less than 6 per game. They averaged 11 per game in the regular season. So it felt like what could go wrong did go wrong for the offense and for the starting pitching. The bullpen, they're like your honor roll student, right? They were your favorite child. They were phenomenal. They kept them in this series all season long. But I think for this offense not to show up, it has to start with Mookie Betts. And Alana, how can you explain Mookie going 0 for 11 in the NLDS? How can you explain the last 3 series, the NLCS in 2021, the DS last year against the Padres, and this year going 6 for his last 48? It feels like he just really struggles in the postseason. What do you make of that?
Well, I mean, he said it himself at the end of the game last night. He said in the postseason or the postgame stuff said that he takes full responsibility that he didn't do anything to help this team win. And I'm paraphrasing. I'm not trying to put words into Mookie's mouth, but it was something of that effect. Yeah, I mean, again, you have to play baseball at the right time. The way that you need, the brand of baseball that needed to be played wasn't played. And both Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts didn't perform up to their capabilities. And they know that. Again, it's all about rhythm and timing. That's what this game is. And I know a lot of people are saying, oh, the layoff, this, that, and the other thing. Well, you know what? The Astros had layoffs. And I know Dodger fans don't like the Astros. I get it. But whether you like them or not, they have been in the ALCS the last 7 years or something like that, some ridiculous number. So, and I heard people saying, the playoffs are a crapshoot. No, they're not. Look at the Astros. So, Jerry Dipoto of the Seattle Mariners came out and said, as long as they win 54% of their games over time, that's going to be an easier way to win a World Series for their fan base. Fan bases don't want to hear that. Fan bases don't want to hear that you're trying to win 54% of your games. It's a situation where the Dodgers have had so much firepower and so much depth of pitching over the course of the last decade that we become accustomed to this team going to the postseason. And anything short of a World Series appearance is a failure in the mindset of the fan base and the mindset of the organization, I would imagine. But they didn't play baseball to the level that they are used to playing it at the most critical time. And give credit to the Arizona Diamondbacks. Nobody gave this club a chance, and they have yet to lose in the postseason 2023. So, you know what? How deep will they go? I don't know. I think whoever comes out of that Phillies Braves series alive is going to obviously be the one that ends up going to the World Series. I think that series is far more difficult than this bracket of the DS. But I think that the Dodgers just hit a skid at the absolute most inopportune time of the season.
100%. And you look at that Diamondbacks team, I think that not a lot of Dodger fans are giving them enough credit. As you said, they're undefeated so far. Their approach at the plate, they're not expanding the zone. They're hitting everything hard, it seems like. They're playing great defense. They're aggressive on the base pass in certain situations. I think Torey Lovullo is pushing all the right buttons and pulling the right levers. But when you look at this Dodgers offense hitting 177 in this series, you look at the fact that they saw on average 3 pitches per at-bat. Last night, Freddie Freeman sees 10 pitches all night. Do you think there's an issue with their approach in the regular season where you're playing for this slug? When they out-homer their opponent, the win percentage is vastly higher than when they don't. Do you think the approach in the postseason versus the regular season needs to change for this Dodgers offense?
Well, I mean, I think that's a fundamental problem in our game. I think so many different times you're managing for 162, and all of a sudden, for whatever reason, the postseason starts and people flip a switch and they start managing differently. That's what the problem is. It's easier to beat up on the 3s and the 4s over the course of a 162 game season. But then when you're facing the 1s and 2s against every single opponent, then that's where it really comes out. I mean, look at Tampa Bay, look at Toronto, look at, these teams that have had great seasons. And then all of a sudden in the postseason, they don't know how to manage, or they forget how to hit, or, they can't get out of their own way, or their starters can't go deep into a ball game. This is what I love about the Phillies and the Braves series. It's like you have 2 old school managers who and I love the Rangers too. I love Bruce Bochy. And I know Dodgers fans don't want to hear it, but the man does have 3 World Series rings with the San Francisco Giants, and he may very well take Texas back to the World Series. But they're old school managers that don't allow, there is a place in this game for analytics and sabermetrics. I can appreciate that. However, there's something to be said about an eye test. I love the fact that Dusty Baker kept Jose Urquidy in the game yesterday. I love the fact that, you got to go with your gut and trust some of these guys to get out of their own trouble. I think we're so quick, if a guy gets on base or there's traffic on the bases, to automatically want to yank a guy out of the game. It's ridiculous. Like, you've got to let these guys face some adversity to be able to get through it, to build that character and at least have that experience and put that on your resume. I just, I don't know. I'm on the Phillies train now, big time. I mean, obviously I wanted the Dodgers to go and win the World Series. I love that team. I always will love that team. I had 7 amazing years there, and I will always bleed blue. But there's got to be some sort of urgency of what, we can't take these teams lightly. We can't overlook anybody, because Arizona, maybe making their way. I don't think they'll get to the World Series, but they got a lot further than anybody anticipated that they would. And they have a much smaller payroll. They don't have the same type of major superstar names that the Dodgers have. And again, they can pitch. And when it comes to this time of the year, you better know how to pitch and you better know how to defend.
Yeah, you have to 100%. And it looks like to me that this Dodgers team, you don't have that plan B. I mean, look, they got out homered in this series 9-1. And when you're not hitting home runs, you don't have that other club in your bag that you can go to manufacture offense. Is deer in the headlights. And these guys start swinging for the fences. Last night, Chris Taylor, that fly ball to deep right center field would have been a home run in 22 out of 30 ballparks. But I think in that situation, it feels like they're so trained to try to get it all back in one swing, to try to win with the slug. That really hurts them late in games. And we've seen this again and again. Now, did want to kind of circle back and ask you about this format, because last night, Dave Roberts, he kind of tiptoed around it. Mookie Betts, when he was asked about the format, said no comment. Now, we know baseball is an everyday game. You want to have that rhythm, but it does feel like teams like the Orioles, the Braves, the Dodgers, they just forgot how to hit fastballs with this layoff. And I know the Astros, they're the gold to the model franchise in baseball, in my opinion, with their consistency, the way they develop, how they're competing for titles. And they're the team that had the layoff and didn't affect them. But what do you make of that? Do you think that baseball might have an issue with this layoff here?
I mean, the problem is they've had different formats, and somebody always gets screwed in the process, right? Remember when it was just a 1-game wild card play-in and there wasn't as much of a layoff? I mean, there has to be something to be said for winning your division and being able to get that bye in the first round so you can rest some of your ailing players. At this point of the year, everybody is banged up. So, I mean, I don't know. It's 6 on one hand, half a dozen on the other. I'm not sure what the right formula is. I will say this. I don't know if the layoff is as much of an issue. Again, baseball is massively about rhythm and timing. I just said that. But what I do think needs to happen is there does need to be, in my opinion, reseeding after every single round like they do in the NFL. And again, this is saying that we don't respect the Arizona Diamondbacks enough, but I personally think that it should have been after the wild card round, it should have been highest seed goes up against the lowest seed. So it should have been the Atlanta Braves playing the Arizona Diamondbacks. I don't think the Braves should have had to play the Phillies. I just don't think that that's fair to the Braves, considering they had the best overall regular season record. If you're going to reward teams for their best overall regular season record and reward them over the course of the regular season, then I do think you need to reseed them, especially if they're going to have a layoff. So I don't know what the answer is. I do think baseball does try to do it fairly, but someone's always going to be pissed off. Someone's always going to feel like they got the short straw or the short end of the deal there. So I believe, like the NFL, reseed. And you can't simulate real games. So I don't care how many, simulated games you want to play or workouts or whatever. It's not the same as that game environment. So I don't know what the answer is, but, the Astros aren't using the layoff as an excuse.
Yeah, and that's the one kicker there. They won last year. They're having success this year. So I think that's the example. I think it's a small sample size, too. You're only a couple years into it, so maybe it'll change in due time. But they have to find a way to get that rhythm. Play USC or LA high school or something in between those. You have to find a way to get a rhythm somehow. One of my theories is what we're going to do. I want to have a 7-game NLDS, a 7-game season NLDS, and then you You have 162 in the regular season, but you have some double headers sprinkled in there during the regular season. Maybe you allow to expand the roster. I don't know. You're going to keep around ideas because I'm coping mode right now. But maybe it's 7 games in the DS.
I don't know. I don't have the answer. I mean, you have to be careful too about adding more games. I mean, this is a very, very long season. 162 games is a ridiculous amount of games. If you keep piling on games, I mean, I think you just have to think about the health and safety of the players too. I know some people said that, the teams that get a bye should have a different amount of games to play. Well, that's not fair either. I mean, there's got to be a way, and I don't know what it is. I mean, I don't get paid enough to figure it out. That there should be a system or a tournament style thing that we're doing now that is fair, that maybe there isn't as much of a layoff, but there is a reward for winning the division. The best thing that probably happened to the Texas Rangers was not winning the division, because they had to keep going, and they're undefeated so far in the postseason. So you never know. I mean, you look at the Astros, who had the layoff, they're doing really well. You look at the Rangers, who didn't and lost the division, and they're undefeated. So who knows? I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah, it's fun to talk about. Let the winner choose. If they want to stay in the wild card, that's interesting. But I'm going to circle back to starting to ask you about things. If that after start, then you'll defend until his last. And I think he was pitching not at 100%. It was an unfortunate outing. But what's your read on it? You think he's going to retire?
I hope not. You know what? The thing is, Clayton Kershaw has earned the right to make the decision in the time in which he wants to make it. I would be very surprised, and I'm just completely speculating. I would be very surprised if he doesn't retire as a Dodger. So if he's not ready to hang it up, I think he comes back to LA, and the Dodgers would welcome him with open arms, and so would I. I don't anticipate that he would finish his career in Texas, just because I think there's something very special about having an entire Hall of Fame career, which he will be in the Hall of Fame, first ballot, an entire Hall of Fame career in one uniform. Obviously, I know he's born and raised in Texas. I get it. His 4 kids are growing up. They're all in activities. They're doing a bunch of stuff. But, the Dodgers have been incredibly good to Clayton, and obviously Clayton's been very good to and for the Dodgers. But, I'm sure he's not going to want to go out as that game 1 as his final performance. But Clayton's priorities are different now. He's changed. He's a different player than he was when he was drafted. I don't think he's done. And if he's not done, I certainly hope he finishes in a Dodger uniform.
I agree. He's not going to bring Dallas, Los Angeles, who's going to finish his career in LA. But as far as the fallout from this series, talked about it, you get swept by this Diamondbacks team, you underperform. Do you think heads will roll? Do you think any hot seats will get turned up? Do you think Dave Roberts will get replaced? Do you think hitting coaches? Do you think it'll be the same group at the end of next year? Considering that you did win 100 games, but no one expected you to. It's only rookies with injury. Do you think that once the emotions got to die down from the fan base, that it'll be really business as usual, and they won't look to really switch things up as much as possible?
I mean, you can't flip a complete 180 on a team that has gotten to the postseason, 11 of the last 12 years. I know that the results are disappointing, but the same people that put together these amazing teams and rosters and manage them to the postseason, you can't all of a sudden want them to go. What I think the Dodgers' biggest opponent was this year, honestly, was injury and health. They just didn't have the depth in their pitching to sustain all of the injuries that they were given and dealt with. And then, by the way, then you're rushing. I mean, if you would have had Emmett Sheehan coming out of the bullpen in game 1 after Kershaw couldn't even get out of the first inning on your bingo card, I mean, you deserve to win Powerball, because nobody would have anticipated that Bobby Miller, Emmett Sheehan, some of these other guys would have even been on a DS roster at the beginning of the season. They were forced to come up out of necessity. And remember, we didn't have Gavin Lux the entire year either. So you've got a lot of things, a lot of guys in different positions, different scenarios that they may not necessarily be ready for. I think if you're looking at a building block, it's really good that these guys got some big league experience under their belt already. But for the postseason, that's not going to work. And you need your MVPs and you need your superstars to hit, and you need those people that are going to be given the ball to start the game to go deep into the game. I mean, Bobby Miller, again, I think he's going to be a really, really good pitcher. He looked like he was just a deer in headlights. He didn't know what the hell hit him. I mean, obviously Kershaw, with the narrative that he can't pitch in the postseason, I do think he would have pitched a lot better in Game 4 had they gotten there. I will defend Clayton Kershaw until my last breath. But Lance Lynn has a lot of postseason innings, but it was at the beginning of his career, 2011 to 2014 with the Cardinals. It doesn't have a lot of postseason experience recently, and just didn't perform. Bottom line is they just didn't get the job done. But to answer your question, no, I don't see a massive amount of turnover going into the season, because the same hitting coach that had the Dodgers, four different guys with 100 RBIs, that's the same hitting coach that was in the postseason. So if he's not good enough for the postseason, then why was he good enough for the regular season?
You're right. I can't do that. You look at this. The first Dodgers are 900 runs since Elo King. Also move the goalpost through the season because they opened the way they had injury, inexperience, hot diet, recipe for disaster. At the end of the day, this franchise is going to measure success by World Championship. And you can as a because they got but reality is you have to move on now. What give me one thing, and it's not like last time we won a time in fun. So we're gonna pick the beer couple over here. One thing that the most optimistic about for this team moving forward.
Well, I think you're getting a lot of really good arms back. I mean, I think you think about the fact that you'll get Walker Buehler back for a full year. I mean, that's a massive ace going back into your rotation. I do think Clayton Kershaw comes back, and then from there, honestly, I think they need to figure it out. I think obviously Bobby Miller is going to be in the starting rotation the entire season. That's only going to bode well as far as maturity. And just experience. I think that I think there will be, the only place I see turnover, I don't see it with the front office, I see it with the roster. And that's just because of age, that's just because of contract situations, that's just because of free agency. They need to figure out what the future is. And James Outman, I love him as a player. Didn't like the at bat in the 6th inning in Game 2, but I love him as a player, and I think has massive upside. So I do think that's where the change is. The positive is it's the Los Angeles Dodgers, and I know that we want to win every single year, but I do think we as a fan base are incredibly spoiled. And I don't think we understand that not every franchise is a perennial contender. And while I know we want 98 rings, it doesn't work that way. So I think that's a reason to be optimistic, is you always, as a fan of this team, you always have a shot. You always have a chance to be in the postseason. And there's only a handful of organizations that can.
I agree with you 100%. Dodgers fans trying to get past. You know that no fan base loves their team as much as Dodgers fans, and that's why it hurts so much. We thank you so much. We appreciate you're the best. Definitely follow Alana Rizzo on the X, at Alana Rizzo, watch your show Monday through Friday, hi on MLB Network with Chris Russo. Thank you so much, Alana. We'll check you again sometime this offseason.
No, it's my pleasure, guys. And go Dodgers, and it's always a pleasure to be with you.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, guys.
All right, guys. So that was Alana Rizzo, and just by reading these comments, it seems like that audio went swimmingly there. That audio went about as well as the Dodgers NLDS. What could go wrong did go wrong, but hopefully I'm back and I sound normal, but let me know here. We got some comments down below. We got still an echo love Alana. Yeah, Alana Rizzo is the best. I mean, she keeps it real. I think it's important to have that perspective, to have that context from someone that was an insider, but now is kind of on the outside looking in, right? I mean, she covers the entire league. And look, the Pirates would love to have the Dodgers problems. The teams around the league that don't make the postseason would love to have the Dodgers problems. But I'm here to tell you that I do disagree to a degree with the idea that you don't have to make some changes. I think that you do have to reconsider the future of this team under Dave Roberts. And you guys know that I'm a Doc defender. You guys know that I support Dave Roberts. But at some point, does the message become stale? Is the reason why you hired Dave Roberts because he's a culture guy, because he knows how to empower his superstars, he knows how to get guys to buy in? Is that good enough to say he is maximizing? He's getting the rookies in the postseason like James Outman and Bob Miller to underperform, to not really step up to that moment. Is he doing enough in his role to justify him on this team? Because at some point, I think you need a manager that can go up to Mookie Betts, to go up to Freddie Freeman and say, okay, this is not acceptable, to hold them accountable. It just does not feel like there's some accountability at the top. It feels like Mookie Betts is coddled as a superstar. It feels like they let him run the roost. And yeah, then this organization is going to say, okay, it's a crapshoot. It's a crapshoot. No, you played like crap. That's what happened. Okay. Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts didn't show up. That's really the conversation here. Miguel Rojas finished with more hits in this series than Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts combined. They went from the dynamic duo to the anemic duo. They went 1 for 21. Mookie Betts bat at bats all night long. Last night, Freddie Freeman saw 10 pitches. That is not the Freddie Freeman that we know and love. And you add the fact that this team comes out tight. The offense doesn't perform for a variety of different reasons. Someone's got to fall on the sword. Heads have to roll at some point, because this is the third year in a row, the third time they've been eliminated by a team that has less than 90 wins. That's not acceptable when you're top 5 in payroll, when you have the deepest pockets and the best resources in the game. The reality, the cold, hard truth, the cold, hard facts here is that the Dodgers have done less with more than probably any team in professional sports. You could make that case. You could make that argument. They're right up there with the Atlanta Braves in the 90s, okay? And it sounds to me that this Dodgers team, from a roster construction standpoint, she brought up Corey Seager. I'm infuriated by the fact that you didn't even offer Corey Seager more than $300 million. To me, it's the Wolverine meme, where Wolverine is looking at the picture sad. That's me looking at Corey Seager every night. That's me looking at Cody Bellinger and Jock Peterson and Justin Turner, guys that were a part of that core, that were gritty, that were gutsy. Those guys weren't big name, expensive players like Mookie and Freddie. Those guys were either reclamation projects that figured things out. I mean, Bellinger, of course, was a high draft pick. So is Corey Seager, but they were homegrown, right? That we need to point out. I'm going to really spend the next couple of days really unpacking this. One thing I think we need to address is, yes, you've developed starting pitching. Yes, you have Bobby Miller and Emmett Sheehan, Walker Buehler, Ryan Pepio, who Ryan Pepio, by the way, he's going to have a good start tonight in game 4, right? Because that's where Dave Roberts was saving him. He's still in his pocket. They've developed starting pitching, but haven't position players. Right? You got Will Smith. Outside of that, though, they're more content in getting their position players from other teams, paying other teams to get their position players, whether via trade or free agency. And I think something has to change in the organizational philosophy. And I do want to circle back, though, and talk about the decision to leave Lance Lynn in the game. Leaving Lance Lynn in when he did, and how everything transpired. Here was Dave Roberts talking about the decision to leave Lance. So we're going to go to that in a second here. But give a listen to Dave Roberts. Here's Dave Roberts talking about his decision to leave Lance Lynn in to set the big league record, MLB history, for most home runs served up in a single inning. That's Lance Lynn's record. Here's Dave Roberts talking about his decision to leave him in the game.
No, I thought, you throw 2 scoreless. I thought he was mixing well. And then he gives up the homer to Perdomo, and then he gets a grounder, and then the Marte homer. So, you're still in the 3rd inning, 2-0. Then he gets Pham, I think, on a 6-3, 4-3, something like that. So, you've got 2 outs and, a low pitch count, and figure that this run of right-hand hitters, you've got to be able to navigate it somewhat with 2 outs. nobody on base, and then 2 homers later, you're down 4-0. So, you know, I had some guys ready, obviously, but I'm just, you know, I can't predict the future.
So I think that was inexcusable. I think that was managerial malpractice because game 2, Dave was in his bag. I thought it was a masterclass by Dave Roberts, the way that he managed the Dodgers bullpen. Game 3, I thought it was terrible. Okay, all the red flags were there. Lance Lynn had served up 44 home runs last season. That was the 6th most in big league history, the most in 6 years. And you're going to let him go out there in an elimination game and serve up 4 home runs? You had these Diamondbacks hitters just dying to put a bat in their hand so they could go up and hit their home run. Okay, I could have probably hit a home run off Lance Lynn last night, right? And you did not remove him from that game. And how about this? On top of that, did I miss something, or was there not even a mound visit? Where's there not even a Will Smith to Lance Lynn catcher's visit? I must have missed if there was. You didn't have a mound visit at all. You left him in the reasoning. His reasoning to me made little to no sense, okay? Because you wondered, okay, it's the 3rd inning, and you're hoping they can get through that and then give the ball to Ryan Pepiot on a clean inning. So things happen so quickly that there was no reliever available? Was Caleb Ferguson available? Guess what? He said after the game that Caleb Ferguson was available, and he was warmed up and ready to go. He was up in time. They could have gone to him, but that wasn't the issue. Doc said that they were hoping to get through that string of right-handed hitters to get to Alek Thomas, who was a lefty, and then go to Caleb Ferguson. So what happened in that situation? Well, you gave the home run to Perdomo. So let's start with the home run to Perdomo. Now, if you look at that pitch, it was a 4-seam fastball. Middle, 91 miles per hour. He crushed it. Now, Perdomo in his career, is he Barry Bonds? Is he Mark McGwire? Is he Jose Canseco? Is he Mike Trout? Perdomo in his career, he's hit 12 home runs in 1,050 plate appearances, and he crushed that on a 91 mile per hour 4-seam fastball right out over the plate. And then you jump ahead. He gets Carroll to ground out for the first out. And then Marte at the plate. This, to me, was the ultimate red flag. This should have been it. I can understand 1 home run, even though it was against your number 9 hitter, even though it was against someone who historically had little to no power. Marte, 2nd pitch of the at-bat, he hits it to the freaking moon. That ball is still probably in the air right now. That ball had a family, and he absolutely tattooed it. 107.9 miles per hour off the bat, 428 feet. That would have been a home run in 30 out of 30 ballparks. If that wasn't the red flag where you're sprinting out to the mound to yank that ball, I don't care if you have to bring security with you to get that ball away from Lance Lynn, you do it at that state. Because last time I checked in the middle of the summer, Dave Roberts was talking a big game about how he was going to manage with more urgency. He told us that he was going to manage games 2 and 3 like it was game 7. To me, he managed that inning like he had the over on 3.5 home runs for Lance Lynn. Okay. And then he comes out and, okay, let's stop the bleeding. Nope. Let's have him face another batter. So Tommy Pham, he gets him to ground out for the 2nd out. So at that point, it's 2-0. And you're like, okay, fine. Let's have him face Christian Walker. How did that at bat go? He falls behind the count 3-1. Now on the 5th pitch, you leave a cutter center cut. Batting practice. Just go out there and put a T on home plate. Let him hit it off a T, because that's what he was doing. It was home run derby. And he hits a home run 395 feet, hot off the bat. Another bomb. That makes it 3-0. At that point, it's over. At that point, I'm on a flight to Arizona, and I'm going to run out there, and I'm going to take him out of the game myself. Instead, he's still out there. And you have Moreno out there, next batter, and you have the do-over home run. How funny was that? We're never going to forget that. The do-over home run, it looked like he hit a bomb. They call it back, and then on the next bleeping pitch, he hits a bomb on a hanging slider. 420 feet. That made it 4-0, and that was all she wrote. So, one, you should have at the very least had a mound visit. At the very least, you should have had Caleb Ferguson out there. Or you know what? Not even Caleb Ferguson. You should have gone to your high leverage guys. Go to a Bruce Dar Gratterall. Go to a Shelby Miller. Go to a Ryan Brazier. The season was on the line. The way their offense had performed, you're scoring 2 runs a game this series. You can't afford any type of deficit. But that was the game. And that is a decision that I think is right below the disastrous decision, which is Dave Roberts' Game 5 of the 2019 NLDS is going to go down in history as one of the worst managed baseball games in our sports history. But this is a few pegs below that. That's how bad that was to leave Lance Lynn in that situation. And then later, you're telling the reporters during the game that you're probably saving Ryan Pepiot. Ryan Pepiot was the Dodgers' best starter for the last 2 months of the season, better than Bobby Miller. And he did not throw one pitch this series. How can you explain that? If this is 100%, if that's Dave Roberts doing and not the front office, and you don't want to consider moving on from Dave Roberts, then I don't understand what the goal is here. Because if it's managerial decisions, not making right moves. If there's a wrong button to push, he'll push it. If there's a right button to push, he won't push it. That's what we learned in Game 3. The game speeds up for Dave Roberts, or it slows down. It's never right in between. And then you add the fact that you have a listless team out there, lackadaisical, playing with no fire. Your superstars haven't shown up. Is anyone sure that Mookie Betts was on the plane ride to Arizona? Did anyone see Freddie Freeman on the flight to Arizona? And I think Freddie Freeman, he was frustrated after the game. Let's listen to Freddie Freeman after the game. He was frustrated. You could tell that he was upset. You could tell he was embarrassed. And I liked a little bit from what I heard from him compared to Mookie Betts. But here's the thing. It trickles down from your superstar, right? It trickles down from your superstar. And like I said yesterday, Mookie is he's the straw that stirs the Dodgers drink. And right now, he's not even the paper straw that dissolves into your drink and becomes food. He's not even a crazy straw. They're not giving away straws anymore. Okay. There is no straw in existence. And that trickles down and it reflects. And if you're look at the Phillies and Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper, an OPS over 1,000, 2 home runs, staring down guys, the fire that he plays with. Look at Mookie Betts on the bases, smiling, being best friends with their teammates, being best friends with everyone out there, doing podcasts. And that's cool. I support that. That's great. But you subject yourself to that criticism. Okay. This is Los Angeles. This is the town of Kobe Bryant. This is the town of Tommy Lasorda and Kirk Gibson. We don't like that. We don't think that's funny. Okay. We don't like all the smiles out there. We're trying to win World Series championships, not be best friends with the opposing team. And then after the game, Mookie Betts is talking about, oh, it's baseball. We don't know. And this and that, just another game. This, that. No, it's not just another game. We want Mr. October, not Mr. August. And I think it's going to be a big issue. I think one of the big changes I want to see moving forward, and I still think Mookie Betts is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's going to go in as a Dodger. He's going to be an iconic player. But Mookie Betts can't be the face of the Dodgers anymore. He can't be the player that represents this entire franchise as far as their mentality, their mindset. It's not Mamba mentality with Mookie Betts, right? It's Garden State mentality in that postseason. When you go 6 for your last 48, you go 0 for the DS, 0 for 11. They combined to not even hit a ball out of the infield. It's unacceptable. I think you have to go out there and get a Shohei Ohtani. And Shohei Ohtani has to be the face of the franchise. You have to have someone else because it always reflects. Teams take on the personalities of their best players, of their managers. There's no doubt about that. Look at Shohei Ohtani in the WBC when he struck out Mike Trout, the competitive fire. And yes, he's not going to pitch, but still, I think that you can't let Mookie run the roost because last 3 series, he's been awful. He literally has been bad. That's not a take. That's a fact. That's statistically presented. 6 for 48. You can't make this stuff up. He hasn't hit a home run in the postseason since the 2021 NLDS. So I think if I'm looking at the exit surveys, and we're going to throw out grades here, and we're still trying to unpack this. It's a little fresh. The wound is not close to being healed, but the fact that they didn't show up the way they did, you could argue that this postseason performance by the Dodgers is in the conversation for worst postseason performances by any team in the history of this sport. When you look at the fact that their pitchers went 4 2/3 innings and they're only able to record 14 outs, they give 13 runs, their ERA was over 25. These are all historic lows. When you look at this offense, the fact that they were a no-show, scored 2 runs per game, hit 177, only had 17 opportunities with runners in scoring position. When you consider the fact that they lose to a Diamondbacks team that had 84 wins, I think you can make a case this is as bad as it's ever got. Now, as far as Dodger histories go, I mean, 2006, if you guys remember, JD drew the slide they get against the Mets. That was a dark series. And then in 1966 against the Orioles, that one was really bad. They got outscored 33-2 in that series, but they had made it to the World Series. I think that this is such a low and a rock bottom that this organization needs to do some soul searching. And I think it really starts with trying to decide what kind of identity do you want? Do you want to be the nice guys that smile and nice guys, this and that throughout the regular season, and you're doing the dance and everyone's happy when you're beating the Rockies and you're beating the teams that no one's going to remember. No one's going to remember those games. You're going to remember what happens in October, right? I would rather have guys that aren't making friends, but are winning world championships. I miss the Yasiel Puigs of the world, right? I miss players that had some fire. I miss Justin Turner. I miss Corey Seager. I miss Cody Bellinger. Look at the guys that came through in this series. And look, I said the Dodgers were going to sweep this series. I was wrong about that because I misjudged this team, because I thought this team was going to show up after getting embarrassed last year. But guess what? They made it worse. Congratulations to the San Francisco Giants and the New York Yankees and the New York Mets and the San Diego Padres and the Anaheim Angels. All those teams won the same amount of postseason games as the Dodgers. 0, a bagel. It's unbelievable. It's incomprehensible how bad this series was. And I think, like I said, it starts with starting pitching. The first thing I want to see, starting pitching has to be the emphasis, because what we know at this point is you can put together an elite offense in the regular season, but it's not necessarily going to translate in the postseason. The regular season, you're going to score 900 plus runs and then 2 runs per game in the postseason. Okay, so to me, I think you have to emphasize starting pitching, and the model is simple. I don't know why they think this is so difficult. You need 2 stud starting pitchers. You need 2 frontline guys that have high velocity, that can miss bats, that can overpower hitters. And yes, I'm optimistic about Walker Buehler returning. I think Bobby Miller could be an ace. I think there's a potential to be, but you didn't go out there and get that ace starting pitcher. You didn't overpay for a Dylan Cease. You didn't get Luis Castillo the year before. You didn't find a way to get yourself the ace level pitcher. And yes, a lot of it was out of their control. They did have injuries. A lot of their players get injured. You couldn't have foreseen what happened with Julio Urias. That's understandable, right? But even at full strength, did this team have the type of pitcher that has success in the postseason consistently to win you 11 games in October? I think the answer is emphatically no. I think Bobby Miller has the potential to be that guy one day, but right now he's not. So they need to go out there and get a starting pitcher. They need to go out there and get 2 starting pitchers. Also think that you need to get guys that a third guy that you can count on for 5 innings, right? And look, say what you want about the Diamondbacks pitching. I'd take Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly over anyone that the Dodgers had this series, right? And you're talking about the Diamondbacks. So yeah, it's a sad state of affairs. What I would do is, whether or not you get Shohei Ohtani, you got to target some pitching. I'll go all in on a couple guys, and I'm going to do a video on him next week. Is Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Yoshinobu Yamamoto is someone that I can think can help this team. I would consider Aaron Nola. I would consider a Blake Snell. I would consider trading for a Dylan Cease, and then find guys that you know are dogs in the postseason. They made the right move by bringing Kike Hernandez back. What I do on yesterday's show, I begged them to start him. He did. He was the best player yesterday, right? Chris Taylor, he's a gamer. You got to get gamers. Guys, sunglasses players, right? When the lights get bright, you put on the sunglasses and you're cool. You can handle it. The game doesn't speed up. Go out there and get a Jorge Soler, right? A player like that. Guy that Michael A. Taylor. Guys that you've seen have success. So it's going to be very interesting to see what they do this offseason. like I said, looking back at that move yesterday, I can't believe that Ryan Pepio did not pitch in this postseason. By the way, I'm so excited about starts tonight game 4. I can't wait. I think Ryan Pepio is gonna shove tonight versus that D-backs team. And yes, you could make the case that you were just basically prolonging the inevitable, but now the way you lost, it's tough to justify this team's 2020 World Series title at the end of the day when it feels like the attrition and injuries are what leads this team to lose every year, right? 2021, you lose Max Scherzer, dead arm. Walker Buehler runs out of gas. Julio Urias runs out of gas, right? Last year, a 111-win team, you're unable to have any success in the postseason, right? The offense goes cold. Do you have the starting pitching that year? Julio cursed. They pitched okay. Tyler Anderson was cruising. You pulled him out. The bullpen, they didn't do enough. This year, more injuries, right? It really makes you wonder if this team knows how to put together a roster that can win for an entire season, withstand injuries, withstand attrition. Because look, the reality is it's not that complicated. The more you play, the more pitches you throw, the increased likelihood is that you're going to be ineffective. So I think it's going to be a long offseason with a lot of questions to answer. And it's going to be very interesting. We'll continue to break it down. But yeah, I slept on it. Woke up, toss and turn all night long. I don't feel better about it today. I still feel like this team really, really needs to do some soul searching. This organization really needs to decide, do they want to get to the Braves? Do they want to get to the Astros? They think they're the model organization. I've got news for the Dodgers. You are not the model organization. You aren't. You're not even in that tier of model organizations. You're far below the Astros. You're far below the Braves right now. Can you imagine what the Rays and Brewers would do with the Dodgers payroll? Just think about that. So that's going to do it for this episode. I'm sorry for the audio with Alana Rizzo. We'll have her back at some point during this offseason. But if you have not yet, be sure to subscribe to the Dodgers Nation YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell. Hit that like. Let's read some comments here before we go out because you guys have been rocking with us. We unfortunately got stars, not dogs. That's from Chris P. That's a comment of the game. Look, yeah, it's tough to disagree. Like I said, the dynamic duo became the anemic duo in the postseason. And it's tough to disagree with that because Mookie's your $365 million man. And Mookie Betts has been Mookie bust in the last 3 postseason series. That's not a take. That's a fact. At-bat quality has been atrocious. Swinging at pitches outside of the zone. Inability to hit fastballs in the zone. Also, not being accountable for it after. I hated what he said after game 2. No bueno. Ask you questions about yourself. You say no bueno. Ask me about my teammates. Go look at Kobe Bryant's interviews after they lost in the postseason. First thing he said was, second place is just the first loser. Okay? Mookie Betts isn't out there smiling, or Kobe isn't out there smiling with the teammates. He's not even talking to his own teammates. Okay? I think the mindset and the mentality needs to change with this team. I want no more Mr. Nice Guys Dodgers next year, right? I don't think the Phillies look like nice guys. I don't think the Astros look like nice guys. They're the ones winning the championships. They're the ones going deep in the postseason. Not this Dodgers team. They're getting bounced every year in the first round. Early exits. 1, 2, 3 Cancun on the couch. Mookie can go on that couch where he interviews all of the players. He can stay on that couch all season long now. But that's going to do it, guys. Read some more. We got Super Chat $4.99. Thanks. That's going right to the Ohtani Fund. I appreciate you for that. We need some cocky guys that can pimp a ball under October lights. Jocktober. He was the guy who could do that, right? I mean, I agree with you. They definitely need to shuffle this roster. I definitely think that Mookie Betts can still be an all-star for this team, a superstar for this team. But I think as far as the guy that is the reflection of the team, I think you need a new face. I think you need a new alpha in that clubhouse that's going to set the tone. I think that has to be Shohei Ohtani or someone else. But that's going to do it. Oh, these are all pinned ones, so I'll read all these. I was wondering why I wasn't moving. My bad. Things move fast around here, right, Noel? Chris P., we unfortunately got Geshmake says there's nothing more frustrating than watching Roberts leave a pitcher in the game too long. It's either or, right? It's either too long or it's too short, right? It's either or. I mean, Rich Hill, they didn't leave him in long enough, right? Clayton Kershaw, they threw him back out there for another inning when it should have been Kenta Maeda in 2019, right? So I agree with you. It's a feel. It's tough. It's tough to put data on intangible qualities, but you guys know it's a feel thing. Everyone on the planet that was watching that game was screaming at their television, take Lance Lynn out. It was Lynn or go home. Now the Dodgers are going to go home all winter long. We got Gady over. I totally butchered the reading of these names, I can tell. Gady Ordonez, let's be honest. We were in a transition year, and roster wasn't built for World Series. Can't expect the World Series this year. Who's talking? Did anyone say World Series? I don't remember myself saying World Series. I said, let's not get swept by an 84-win team and get embarrassed. I just want to win a game at this point. I just want to have a lead at this point. This Dodgers team didn't have a lead this series. World Series, that's not even the cards for this team right now. No one said anything about World Series. And yeah, it's World Series or bust for sure. And that's ultimately how you're going to get judged by. But still, I just want to win a game. Okay. And you don't win a game. You don't have a lead to this team, a Diamondbacks team. They're not playing the 1927 Murderers Row Yankees, the mid-90s Indians, or any team like that. You're not playing the 2001 Yankees, the 75, 76 Reds. You're not playing some of the great teams in baseball history. These are the Diamondbacks. Tons of youth and inexperience. So I'm not talking about a World Series. I just want to win a game. And at the end of the day, they didn't go out there and execute. And it's unfortunate. But we got Nick Segura. Hope they get Snell to replace Urias and have Buehler, Gonsolin, May, Trinan, Gonzalez pitching was hit hard this year. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Injuries happen. Injuries are common in Major League Baseball. The velocity revolution remains to be seen if the pitch clock is impacting injuries. Next year, you look at it right now, yeah, Bobby Miller could be an ace, could be an all-star. I think there's a decent chance that happens. Walker Buehler, I think, is going to return. I saw Nathan Eovaldi have a great start. He's a two-time Tommy John pitcher. Hopefully, Buehler can have a similar level of success as Nathan Eovaldi. Hopefully, Walker Buehler in a contract here is going to go out there and front this rotation. I think there's a lot of talent in this organization. I think the pitching side is in a good place. But offensively, when you look at the roster right now, what would give you confidence next year when the Dodgers presumably are going to probably play the Rockies, right? You lost to the Padres, you lost to the Diamondbacks, maybe it's the Rockies, right? So it makes you wonder. I mean, they are in a pretty okay spot, but you need to go out there and get some proven veterans. Okay, you're not going to hit on all these rookies. It's unrealistic. It's not going to happen. And if you want to maximize the primes of Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts, who aren't getting any younger, you have to win now. I think they're in this weird gap of we want to develop these young rookies, have them be contributors versus the twilights of Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman's prime. Because if you get no championships out of Freddie Freeman, it's not going to be pretty. But a couple more here, and we'll let you guys enjoy the rest of your Thursday, as today it is, right? We got the super chat. I get the feeling that Roberts is too much of a nice guy. The Dodgers need a manager that gets in their face when they don't perform. I think there is some of that. I almost think even if they bring in another nice guy, I think a different voice potentially. Like I said, I don't think they have to fight Dave Roberts, because I know the way this organization is that a lot of these decisions here, for example, what happened the day before? Was Dave Roberts at Chase Field at their practice, at their workout? No, he was at a hotel. It was the Hyatt Hotel. I can confirm that they were discussing the game plan with the front office, with the analyst. That's just really all you need to know. Dave Roberts, he does not make the lineup all by himself. He does not make these decisions all by himself, right? And he can't. There's no way, because it's collaborative. So anyone else they bring in, they're going to have to adhere to this front office, to Andrew Friedman and the way they want to go about winning or losing baseball games. So it's not like you're going to get a Bruce Bochy, who probably would not like to manage under this Dodgers regime, because he's someone who is not going to take crap from this front office. So it's really complicated. And I just think that, look, if you are, I mean, it's like changing the captain on the Titanic sometimes, right? I mean, bring another manager. What really is it going to do if the roster construction isn't different? If the approach at the plate isn't different as far as playing small ball? How come we didn't see a little more first to third, right? That's why I love that inning, the seventh inning, you had 4 consecutive singles, right? They did it the right way when you're not able to slug. So I think it goes much deeper than Dave Roberts. I will just put it at that. I think Dave Roberts is a guy where he's someone who's a great manager of people. He's someone that teams will line up to sign. But yeah, we got a couple more here. Gary Glenn, great job at your DMAC. Great job to you guys. I'm not going anywhere, guys. I'm sitting right here all off season. I'm sitting right here. I'm going to sleep in this chair. Rams have to take revenge. Okay. Okay, Craig. Different show here. Yadi Molina for manager, Brian S. Look, I think you might at some point, Bill Parcells said it. Bill Parcells, one of the greatest football coaches. He said, no matter what, sometimes your message gets a little stale. It's just the truth. But D-Mac, come on, man. You tripping on Roberts. I'm tripping, meaning that they should fire him or not. I'm going to get this before I bounce. Go Kings, go. Okay, you guys are going on to your other teams. This is going to be the most exciting offseason. I just want to point that out too. I feel like this offseason is going to be a massive one for the Dodgers. Do they get Shohei Ohtani? Do they make any big-time organizational decisions as far as changing the manager, changing the coaches, changing anyone in the front office? Do you make trades? You make signings? And because I think at this point you have all this money that you hopefully were able to save because you were trying to get Shohei Ohtani. So a couple more here. Can I get a birthday shout-out? D-Mac, 35 years young today, Rob Alexander. Yeah, fortunately, that birthday present for the Dodgers was not a great one. But yeah, man, happy birthday for sure. 35 years of age. Good times. We get to, I know that's what Sean McVay. Okay, this is getting red. Okay, thanks again, guys. If you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell. Hit that like button. Super shout out to super producer Jordan on the ones and twos over there. That's what those are. But thanks again, guys. Remember, nothing brings us together quite like Dodger baseball. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DMac_LA. I'm not going anywhere. We're going to be doing videos Monday through Friday, probably on the weekends too, all season long, because we have to fix this team and we're going to still unpack this. Yeah, I agree. No bueno is cringes. AF donut. I agree. I hated that. You guys are really okay. Thanks again, guys. Dying Sure. Thanks a lot. See you guys next time. And until next time, think blue, bleed blue.